everybody to Body Remastered. My name is Jason Davies. This is one of the YouTube videos that I want to put out there about 8 myths about building muscle naturally. And there's a blog on this as well, so please go on to bodyremastered.com, check out the resources and subscribe to Remastered Unlocked. We've got some great products as well and lots of it coming through soon, so check that out. So before we go any further, let's have a look at the 8 myths about building muscle naturally. So the first one has got to be the fact that you can build muscle quickly and healthily. That's an absolute myth. And some people think, oh, that's a bad thing. That's really one of the most best things I could tell you in this video. Muscle is built through 3 main mechanisms. First one's muscle damage. Second one is muscle tension. And the third one is molecular stress. And all 3 of those, imagine it as a primordial soup, and it's a recipe and you're putting them all together, they will give you all the results that you need. But the process of breaking down muscle is an anabolic process, so that basically is building cells, whereas a catabolic process is about breaking down cells. And so in order to build muscle, you have to, the rate of cell build, the build-up of cells is going to be higher than the rate of cell breakdown. And so, in order to do it healthily, the muscles take time to adapt. Think about strength. To get stronger, you have to have normal processes all the time that adapt all the time, and eventually you start seeing changes. But those changes aren't instant. You also have to think about individual factors as well. Hormonal levels play a part in muscle building. Genetics obviously plays a part, but it doesn't limit any particular person who will have the potential to build muscle. That's really important. And even some of the types of muscle fibers can affect the rate in which we build muscle and how we build muscle. So obviously there's some individual factors there. But the main point of this part, or this myth, is that we don't want to build muscle fast. We want to do it healthily, and we really want to make sure that when we're doing it, we're doing it in the right form. We're doing it with ensuring that our joints are healthy and our tendons are healthy, etc. So I would say it's a very positive thing, and you will see changes, not just from year to year. You will see changes day to day, but don't necessarily expect whatever that's ideal physique to take place straight away. Just please enjoy the process, because that's what we're here for. The other important factor as well with building muscle is you've got to remember that you've got to teach the body to build muscle. The body's always in a state of what they call homeostasis. It always wants to maintain certain biological and chemical processes. So in some ways, the body believes that there is an ideal weight for you at any one time, and that can change from period to period, obviously, especially if you're younger and you're growing. So you have to actually say, well, this is, I want to actively change my weight. I want to reduce it. I want to put some muscle mass on, and therefore you have to teach the body to do that. And that doesn't happen instantly, because naturally we don't necessarily want to put on muscle. The body just wants to survive, and you've got to teach it that actually I want to put on muscle to improve performance, to improve confidence. That's not something the body naturally knows that it needs to do. So that's an important factor as well. Okay, let's look at the second myth. The second myth is that you cannot look impressive when building muscle naturally. I can tell you now from my experiences and many others within the fitness industry, it's just not the case. It couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, I would go and potentially argue, and of course it's an opinion, is that you will look better in the long term by following this program naturally. It's important. I said this before, every person is unique. Every body morphology looks differently. Your chest will develop differently, your arms will develop differently, they have different insertion points, etc. And that's unique to you, and that's a special thing. And I think if you try anything artificial, potentially going down a road to look like something that you weren't supposed to look like. So yes, it may take longer and we recover in different ways, but believe me, you can have a really impressive body, whatever that may be, and that's relative to a different person, by the way. But you can get that, and you can achieve that naturally. You just got to follow the right processes along the way. And remember, the process is what's enjoyable here. So don't let anyone tell you you can't. And even if your ambition is to put on some serious mass, I can tell you from experience that you certainly can. You can do it quicker than you think, naturally. But we're in it for the long term. We always want to vary it up and make it changing, entertaining, and you can do that naturally. So don't sell yourself short. Make sure you keep that vision, that dream, and keep fighting for it. Okay, the third one is that you have to eat a ludicrous amount of meals a day in order to build muscle. And again, it's just not true. And it's unfortunate because over time, through various different fitness avenues, there's this concept that you have to just keep eating and keep eating. And why is that? I mean, if you think about muscle building, what do you need to build muscle? What do you need in any healthy body? Well, one, you need water, right? You need to survive. Very important for muscle and protein synthesis. You need to have water. Plays a very important part in recovery. You need protein. That's very important as well. There's lots of videos on that. We can talk about that. You need energy. And that's where the food comes in. We'll talk about that. And you need the stimulus. We need to train, right? We need to give us the body a reason to adapt. And you know, unfortunately, a lot of people think, and sometimes, and it's wrong information, is you have to go onto a ridiculous bulk. You have to have in excess of 1,000 calories every day or from week to week in order to build muscle. You have to have 6 to 10 meals a day. Now, it might work for some people, no doubt, and as I said, everyone's individual. But it's important to provide it. Going back to those points of how you build muscle, you need energy. You don't need a ridiculous amount of energy. You need a little bit more energy. So, you know, we're talking about maybe 50 to 100 extra calories. Now, not necessarily every day. You may vary that throughout your training sessions. We cover a lot now, building muscle, so please check it out. But you know, it varies. The fact is, you can build muscle and you can lose fat at the same time. A lot of people say you can't, but you absolutely can. You don't have to just be a beginner. But you have to manage it, and there is science involved, and there's mechanisms and training programs, and tips and techniques to follow, and we will help you with that. But you can do it simultaneously. And the other fact is that if you are on a calorie surplus to an excess of what I'm talking about, then all you're going to be doing is putting on excess fat. You're not going to be supporting muscle growth. There might be a bit of muscle that will grow, but you're just going to be putting on excess fat. So there's no point. It's absolute excess empty calories that you're putting on. I mean, even if you're eating healthily and it has nutritional value to it, the fact is that it's too much. You know, a calorie surplus is defined as having in excess of the calories in which the body needs. And yes, you need to do that to some extent in order to maybe promote and give the energy if you are really providing an extra intensive stimulus, but you don't need a ridiculous amount. So just don't worry about that. Everyone's individual. Focus on small incremental amounts, just like you would if you was trying to improve your training breakout plateaus. Okay, let's look at the fourth one. This is really interesting to me. Really one of the reasons again why we want to put Body Remastered and help everybody out there, and that is that females cannot build muscle naturally. And this not only is a myth, it's actually quite a poor stigma in which is about, because it's completely untrue. Now that doesn't mean, you know, if a woman which desires to build quite a lot of muscle mass, then that's great. But if they desire to just put a little bit of toning and sculpt the body, that's absolutely possible as well. It doesn't have to be, it can be fully controlled just like a man. Now obviously there are differences between a man and a woman. Testosterone levels, naturally occurring testosterone levels, are obviously higher in men, but women replace those hormones with other growth hormones and growth factors, so they don't need the testosterone. Not only that, women actually repair muscles faster than men, so if anything they have an advantage, and they use estrogen to help repair the muscles. So it's really a shame that sometimes this is full. And if you don't think that, that's great. Use it in your arsenal. But as I said, women can build muscle very naturally, and they can support their muscle growth in anything they want to do, whether it be running, athletics, or any sports. It's really important. We believe it's a foundation for men and women. And the same goes in terms of building it naturally, going through the process. Not trying to get to a ridiculous result really fast. It's an enjoyable process. The same goes. So there's no real differences. Of course, if you're taking contraceptive pills, they can maybe sometimes inhibit the effect of protein synthesis within females. And it's of course important to recognise that females have a larger body fat percentage naturally and genetically more so than men do. And obviously men and women hold fat in different places, but that's completely irrelevant because you can train, improve your body performance depending on how you work your training regimes. But the point is you can build muscle naturally and very healthy. Okay, let's look at the fifth myth, really a favourite for me. Something I did think actually when I was younger, but soon smartened up, and that is you can only train heavy in order to build muscle naturally. Again, just not true. It's part of the equation, but the fact that you're saying that it's the only thing you have to do is again not true. It's important to realise that actually, if you think about strength, if you think about muscle building, there's a whole array of methods in order to improve strength and improve muscle building. There's different types of strength. For one, there's explosive strength, there's endurance strength, and of course there's muscular strength. And of course some will respond to heavier weights because different fibres are involved, and I'll talk about that in a sec. Others respond to more endurance, trying to do as much as you can in the smallest amount of time that you have. And I think trying to limit yourself or take any one of them out of the equation is going to limit your performance and your overall results. And it's not fun. You don't want to over focus on one thing. So absolutely, you can look at all of those. If you just again revert back to in terms of how is muscle built, in terms of the mechanisms, it's muscle damage, muscle tension, and molecular stress. So in order to build healthy foundation of muscle in the body, you need to put all three of those elements in. And guess what? All three of them respond in different ways. So if you just do heavy lifting, you may not all get the benefits of molecular stress that's required to build muscle. And let's look at fibres. There's actually two types of fibres. There's slow twitch and there's fast twitch. And they respond differently as well. And we have different proportions of fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibres. So let's talk about that. Slow twitch fibres respond to more endurance, high fatigue type training, and they're type 1 muscle fibres. Fast twitch fibres, like type 2 or type 2X fibres, they respond not very well to fatigue, but they've got a good force output, which makes them ideal for heavier training. So you can see actually your body can adapt to both. It needs both in order to provide the optimal environment in order to build muscle. So you're going to limit yourself if you just focus on one. My advice on this is and we've got a lot on Bodybuilding Masters in terms of training programs to show it, is try all types. It's also very important, if you just focus on heavy lifting, you have the risk of injury. Because sometimes your joints don't respond very well to constant heavy lifting. So take it from me, look at the whole arena and then decide what works best for you and when you should change or alter your training program to make it suit fit. Okay, so let's look at the sixth myth. Again, a real favourite of mine is that any muscle built naturally will turn into fat eventually or in the long term. Again, completely untrue. In fact, if I had the ability to turn one tissue into another, I'd probably be won the Nobel Prize already, or I'd be some sort of mutant from outer space. You just cannot do it. They're completely different. Muscle is composed of protein, amino acids, and water. Fat is composed of an ester of fatty acids. They're completely different. One doesn't turn into the other. What does happen, and can happen over time, through disuse and a lack of activity, is that your body fat percentage can increase, and also your lean muscle mass can decrease. And obviously that means you're going to be putting on more fat, but it's not the muscle that's changing into fat, it's the fact you're putting on more fat. And obviously metabolism can vary across as we age as well. So what's important is that, again, you recognise that this is a long-term program. It's important as a long-term program because it keeps us activity, and it's really a lifesaver, in my opinion, for future health benefits in the long term. Building muscle has such a part to play in that. And that's what Bodybuilding Master is about as well. It's recognising it's not just necessarily all cardio and HIIT. It's about let's build essential muscle, let's tone the essential parts of the body for health reasons and to increase our performance and to feel confident. So one's not going to turn into fat and the other one's not going to turn into muscle. It doesn't happen. Let's look at the seventh myth. The seventh myth is that you cannot really recover naturally when you're building muscle. And if you can recover, you can't recover in an optimal state. Again, just not true. At least what we're trying to show at Bodybuilding Mastered and what we're trying to achieve at Bodybuilding Mastered, any type of training stimulus in which you induce, any natural recovery process is more than sufficient in order to deal with that. And that's actually about building your training programs intelligently. That's what we try and help you to do at Bodybuilding Mastered. Intelligent programming is with the right rest rates and the right rest timing, not just between days, between training, but also before exercises, between sets and reps. There's a massive piece in that, and that's really important. So you've probably heard the phrase that muscle is not built in the gym; it's built at home or when you rest. It's built away from the gym. And that's really important. So, the recovery process is so key. And that's why any training program we help you out with in Bodybuilding Mastered will touch on recovery probably more than anything else. As I said, it's one of our core values, balance, which is about recovery and getting other things that you need in life. Now, it is true that if you try and build muscle unnaturally through steroids or any other artificial means, then yes, in some cases you will be able to recover faster because of the mechanisms that take place when you take steroids, etc. But as I said, the natural processes in your own human body, the healthy processes are more than enough to get to an improved state of muscle naturally, and you'll feel better for it. That's what our immune system's for, is for recovery. When you put a training stimulus, you put stress on the muscle, the next process is to build and repair. And that's why muscle's not built in the gym, it's built when you rest. So it's really key, and that's why I say Bodybuilding Mastered, we believe in the natural process, and I'll always argue, even if there is an improved state of recovery through going through the unnatural route, it never outweighs the benefits of doing it naturally and the potential harm that can be caused in the long term through doing it unnaturally. So, the last myth, number 8, is that you cannot build muscle naturally without there being a limit. There's actually a limit to building muscle naturally. And again, not strictly true. Now, it's certainly true that we have a genetic potential to build muscle. You can't keep building muscle to a ridiculous amount. Not only that would be dangerous, it would be unusual, and you wouldn't want to look like it. But that limit, that genetic limit, exists for people naturally, also exists for people who take steroids. There is always a genetic limit. However, the actual chances of you reaching that genetic limit, of which you probably will never know, is very unlikely, because you've got to create an environment that's so optimal. You've got to be eating the right things at the right time, you've got to be nutritionally at the right place, and you're going to be in such an advanced level of training that everything is so intense, and everything is so perfectly executed. And the fact is you probably will never get there. And that's fine, that's the whole point. We don't want to get there. We shouldn't think of it as a finish line. Even if we have an aspiration and a vision at the end, that's great, but think of it as a long-term journey, step by step, and how we can improve step by step. So I really don't think it matters. We really should please never, ever, if there's one message you take from this video, is never limit yourself through a number. If you think about the process of muscle building that we've been talking about, everybody has their own genetic makeup, and everyone's unique, and we celebrate that fact. We have a different skeletal framework, we have different muscle insertion points, and we have different testosterone levels and hormonal differences. So all of these things play a part. They all play a part. And so it's just impossible to say, or give one person a particular number, and say this is your limit. Now, of course, muscle the amount of muscle, as you become more and more advanced, the amount of muscle you put on is going to be different from what a beginner puts on. But that doesn't matter, because as you get better, you're going to be wanting more advanced techniques. You're going to be wanting to push yourself a little bit more. And that's just the process. So really don't worry about it. There is no particular difference in that regards, because I really don't think it affects you personally. You can put on great muscle physique and get to that ideal state, and whatever that may be, and you don't have any major limitations that's going to stop you from doing that. The body can adapt, and it does adapt. And that's again another thing we really celebrate at Bodybuilding Mastered. So thank you for watching this one of the first YouTube videos. Find the equivalent blog at the bottom of the YouTube video. Check out the website. Please subscribe to Remastered Unlocked and check out some of the materials. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.